Okay, everybody. Good evening. It is July 11th, 2021. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. So we're back after a 1 week break. Last week, of course, we were off because it was 4th of July. And I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. It was, of course, the birthday of our country. I believe the United States turned 245 years old. 245 years young last week. And, there were fireworks and big celebrations everywhere. So it was very good to see our country getting back to normal. But of course, as normal as it's getting, there's still a lot of problems. And that's mainly because of the Democrats who are in charge. And today on our show, to try to combat these Democrats and try to push back on their agenda or their lack of, and trying to, restore some sanity back into our government, I have three very important and special people. I have Chris and Craig, and forgive me if I butchered the pronunciation of their last name. It's Auriemma, right? Chris and Craig, they are twins, and they okay. So a little bit about them. So they were veterans. They were in Iraq, and I think when they come on, they can specify that more. But they are veterans, they're firefighters, they're twins, and now they're running mates. Chris is running for state senate in District 36. Craig is running for state assembly in District 36. And to round out their ticket, we have our great friend Joe Viso. Joe Viso is also running for assembly in the 36th district, and all three special people are on my show tonight. So without further ado, let me bring them all on. Give me 1 second, guys. So we got Chris.
How you doing?
Craig.
How you doing?
And Joe.
Hello, everyone. How you doing, Doc?
Hey, guys. So we've got a packed show tonight. So where do I even begin with all of you guys? Well, I know Joe has been on the show before. Joe is a great friend. And I love the background, Joe.
Thank you.
Well, yeah.
All right. So why don't we start off with Chris? Chris, on the top right corner of the screen, well, from my angle. So Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run?
So I'm originally from Hudson County. I was born February 13th, 1972. Actually, me and Craig were born February 13th, 1972. Raised by a single mother, taught us good Christian values. And there wasn't a lot of opportunity growing up. And the greatest way out for us was joining the military. We enlisted in 1989, before the wall came down. So we were in the Cold War. And we went to Fort Benning, Georgia, 1989. I was 301. He was 302. That was our bunk. And we did 23 years. I did 23 years. Craig did 22 years. We were National Guard. We worked on this thing called the Counter Drug Task Force, where we worked with a bunch of different law enforcement agencies like DEA, Customs, and a bunch of other like small organizations around there. And then we left that and we became readiness NCOs. Craig left, and I'll let Craig explain that. And then we deployed in 2004 to Iraq the first time. We were gone for 18 months. I was in Baghdad. Craig was up north. And then we deployed the second time to Iraq, this time doing detainee operations. We were there in 2004, we were there for the first election, which was really something amazing. It was a very volatile time because obviously, the insurgents didn't want a free and fair election. See, there's a lot of things going on that's almost similar, but that's a whole nother thing. But and then I retired in 2011. Unfortunately, got on the fire department, and it's been the greatest job in the world. I'm married. I have a son who's also on the job, and I have a daughter. She's finishing her getting her degree to become a nurse, and my wife is a HR person. And that's pretty much in a nutshell me.
Great. So, can I ask Chris, who's older, you or Craig?
Craig's 20 minutes older. Well,
Uh-oh.
he's been on this earth. Well, he was on this earth 20 minutes before me, right? Because we were.
Okay.
I know he'll say 20 minutes older, but that's what.
So, but basically, Craig came out first, right?
Yes, Craig came out first. Yes.
Okay.
I'm the older twin.
Okay.
That's what he'll say.
Now
And
you
so
guys
why I
are
ran.
okay.
I'm
So you
sorry.
guys are identical twins or
Identical twins,
fraternal? Okay,
Identical.
you're identical. Okay.
Yeah, we're called what's called mirror twins. Like I'm left-handed, he's right-handed.
Oh wow.
Craig,
Okay.
Craig
Yeah,
needs a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Well, you know what? And so the reason why I ran the first time for Congress.
Okay. So let's back up a bit. All right. So
Yeah.
Chris,
Yes,
you
sir.
actually ran for Congress
Mhm.
in 2020, right? Last year, you ran as an
Yes.
as an independent, though, right?
Yes, I ran as an independent. Right?
And was that your first run for office?
Yes, that was my
Okay.
first run for office.
Okay.
Major run. I ran like back in the 90s for city council, but it wasn't like a real run. It was just
Okay.
a thing.
So last year you jumped into the race, but you went in as an independent. But as an independent, it's interesting to note that you had a very strong showing, right?
I did. I had 70. Actually, from what I've seen through Ballotpedia and other places, actually, I think I received more votes in a congressional race as an independent than I think almost any other person running for Congress.
And this was in which district?
The 9th district, which incorporates a lot of the cities in the district we're running in now.
Okay, so you actually ran on the same. Well, so you were running sort of like against Billy Prempe, right?
well, I was running against Pascal.
Right.
That's what I was running. I wasn't running. I actually got in, and it's funny because I was talking to Billy the other day, and we actually finally got to talk because we didn't really talk during the campaign. And I said, well, technically I got in like back in like October of 2019. I just started running because a lot of it had to do with Pascal, and he was just so radical, and he went so far left that he made like Bernie Sanders seem like a capitalist. I mean, he just went so far that I couldn't sit here and sit there and just complain on Facebook anymore.
Right.
I had to do something to get him out of office.
Now, Chris, when you ran last year, did you try to run as a GOP candidate first, or
no? Because I didn't know how to. I didn't know anything about running. I really didn't know. So I was just like, well, I don't want to do it the way that say someone's going to tell me how to run.
Right.
And I said, what, I'm just going to do it on my own. I was like, what, I'm gonna do this like. And it turned out it was tough because the pandemic, so I couldn't go door to door, but and still got a good showing. But
how many votes did you end up getting in 2020? It
was like 7,215.
Okay, 72. Yeah. So like 7,000 votes as an independent candidate, and that's a pretty good showing, right? Because I mean, you didn't have any. You didn't have the backing of like a major party. And and I believe you didn't really fundraise, right?
No, I only spent like $700, mostly it was all on signs.
Okay, $700 on signs, which garnered you 7,000 votes. So I guess that's a pretty good return.
Like a penny per vote or something like that.
Right.
I think was what I found out.
So then let's fast forward to this year. So this year you decided to seek the nomination. Of the GOP. So what was it about this year that made you want to go through like a major party as opposed to just doing it by yourself again? Well,
you know what, I I saw, especially with the lockdowns, and this time I had like a legitimate target. The other time I was just kind of all over the place. This time, and for me it was the New Jersey legislature, who stayed home and did nothing while Murphy, just ran like a tyrant, and I felt like I had to jump in and do whatever I could to.
Okay. All right, great. All right, now let's move on to Craig here, the older brother, right? So Craig, Well, first of all, I got to ask you guys, how did you guys duke it out as to who would run for Senate, who would run for, state assembly? Because as the older brother by 20 minutes,
Yeah.
I would think that you probably have dibs on like the higher seat, right? So
Yeah.
how did Chris get it?
So I never really wanted to run for office.
Okay.
Excuse me, sorry. So Chris was like, "Oh, you should run," and I mean, I just like Chris. I was very unhappy, and I've been very unhappy with the Democrats for many years. I've been a Republican since the '90s. And like Chris said, we grew up in Hudson County, and I was a Jersey City fireman, so it was very unusual to be a Republican, and I took a lot of crap for that over the years on the fire department because it's an overwhelmingly Democrat,
Right.
but for reasons that's why I'm a Republican for many reasons, like and just for moral reasons, governmental reasons. Anyway, so so yeah, Chris is like, all right, I'm gonna run for Senate. He goes, why don't you try to run for assembly? And and I, it wasn't something that I initially wanted to do, but then I started watching all this stuff that they were coming out with teaching children horrible ideas and sexuality and it's just something I couldn't take it anymore. So I said, all right, you know what, I'll run. I mean, because I really want to go to Trenton to I mean, look, the direction that the Democrats are taking the state, and if they win, I mean, we really need to impress upon our and this is what I've been saying to Jack Ciattarelli and all the various Republican things that we've done is we really need to reach out to our Democrat friends, our independent friends, or undeclared, and just say, look, New Jersey can't go that way. We don't want to be Seattle. We don't want to be California. I mean, yeah, we're very much Democrat in New Jersey, but I used to say to Chris that yeah, New Jersey's mostly Democrat, but it's not like those wackos on the left coast, and then sure enough, those ideas are bringing their way here, and many of my Democrat friends and family, they just don't understand that yes, it's not the Democrat voters, right? It's the Democrat politicians, right? They're all controlled by these incredibly sick, and like Chris said, we have a strong Christian background. We attend a very nice Christian church over in here in Lyndhurst, and anyway, so I've been telling the people in my church and anyone I talk to that it's almost like literally satanic. I know it sounds a little crazy, but it's the only thing that will explain, just the direction they're going. I mean, so anyway, I feel as a former soldier, former firefighter, that this is the fight that I need to take now. So that's that in a nutshell, kind of what inspired me to.
Okay. So Craig, are you still on the firefighter force? Are you still a firefighter?
No, I retired 3 years ago. I had when I first entered the fire department in 2003, I was able to purchase my duty time in the pension, and so
Okay.
at 25 years in the pension as of 2016. So I just figured I could have stayed on and kept doing it, and I loved it. But I'll be honest with you. Part of the main reason I chose to retire is because one, it's dangerous and it smoke, and my daughter, because of the two deployments, my time in the military, the fire department, I didn't want to keep putting that stress of her worrying about me,
Right.
to continue risking my life for a job. I mean, it's one of those things that when you're doing that as a soldier or a fireman, you don't think of it the way other people do. You just think, okay, this is my job. I go into that burning building, I bring the hose and I do whatever I do, and it's just like somebody, filing a TPS report, what I mean, in an office. Like that's how it was for me,
Yeah.
fire department. So I chose to retire, and now I do industrial real estate, which I'm starting to see, um, it's just some of the political ramifications for that too. I mean, a lot of these towns want to limit. They want to, they want to limit in the, their, which is going, which creates jobs to create these huge apartment complexes that don't create jobs. That just, that just bring the insane mentality of the cities into the suburbs. So I also want to fight that too. People
Okay.
fled the cities for that reason. Just
Right.
now they want to bring that their crap here.
Right. Okay. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you to Chris and Craig, for both of you, for serving our country, right, and for continuing to serve our country and our citizens as firefighters. I think you guys are always putting your lives on the line, and everybody owes you guys a big debt of gratitude. And I think the fact that you guys are running for office now, and I think you guys can testify that running for office, for political office here in New Jersey, can at certain times be even more dangerous and more grimy than being in the military or fighting fire, right?
Yeah.
Definitely more. Well, especially when you're running against Democrats.
Right.
These Democrats, oh man, they're worse than like Chris was saying before. Chinese,
I'll take a fire any day.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending.
Perfect segue.
wouldn't say that.
Perfect segue to Joe Viso. So Joe Viso is the third candidate on your ticket, right? Joe is running for assembly. He's rounding out your team here, and Joe has been on our show prior, and we're happy to have Joe back on again. So Joe, for all the viewers who are watching, who are watching for the first time, who might not know you, can you give us a little, brief intro about you and who you are and what you do and why you want to get into this dirty jungle of politics?
I can't hear you. There we go. There you go. Now I can hear you. Hello.
Okay. Hey, Joe. So yeah, basically I was saying that, why don't you give the viewers a little rundown about you?
Okay. I'm a lifelong resident of New Jersey. I was born in North Carolina. My father was in the military. But other than that, my family's been based out of New Jersey since my family came from Italy back in the early 1900s and throughout the 19th century and 20th century. Was a firefighter in town for a few years. I'm a licensed electrician. Started my business in Bergen County, New Jersey in 1999. I've been in public life as a soldier, so to speak, working with the kids, just putting my head down and doing what I can to help my community. And I never thought I would get into politics until this past year. And so, now I'm here. When you talk about something enough and all you can do is talk about it, at some point in time, you either have to shut up or you have to walk the walk and do something about it. So that's what I'm doing. I went to a few meetings this past year, and I was asked at like a town, just like an open town forum, if anybody was interested in running for office. And I found out not many people wanted to run for office. A lot of people are afraid to run for office. They're afraid to speak their mind because of cancel culture these days.
Right.
And I guess I'm a glutton for punishment because I raised my hand and the gentleman said he was going to put my name in the hat to run for Senate. And I found out these two guys were running, and I would rather support the ticket, be a supporting member on this ticket, rather than fighting against it. So, I like these guys. They're great patriots. They're good Christians, and I'm proud to be running with them.
Okay.
So,
we are.
Now, Joe, when was the first time that you met Chris and Craig? Because I know that Chris and Craig, they met in the womb, but but how did you meet them?
Yeah, I'm their brother from another mother. You know what? I called when I found out Craig, when I was asked to run for Senate, I reached out to my municipal chair and he gave me Chris's phone number, and I called him and he called me back very quickly, and we spent a good 45 minutes to an hour on the phone. And by the end of the phone call, I decided I wanted to support him and not run against him. Why waste the time? I know these guys are good Christians. They're good people. They love America, Americans of every race and creed. And I'm just really proud to be a part of this ticket. We have an uphill battle. This district is notoriously Democratic over the past almost decade now, and I'm tired of hearing from our organization. Albeit I love the Republican organization, they seem to think that we never have a chance to win because it's too Democratic. But it was 6 or 7 years ago we had a full Republican government sitting in Bergen County, and good amount more throughout the state. So, and I'm finding the more and more I speak to people, there are more and more people so upset with what is happening with our country, with just all of these crazy left policies. Look what they're doing with our military. The commercial they put on. No offense, I have a gay uncle. I love him to death. I love him. But there's no room in the military for the LGBTQ community. Listen, I don't care whether you're man, what your sexual preference is. Military is to protect our country. It's to learn how to, it's defense of our country. It's not about coddling each other. I have no problem with someone being gay, being in the military. Personally, I really don't care. But when you're there, it's to learn how to protect our country. It's not about coddling. And I'm sorry, but I no offense if anybody's feelings are hurt, but the military is really not about feelings. I really don't care to hear about that crap. So, I support the LGBT. Excuse me, I support the alphabet, but I don't support our military going full woke. They're out of their friggin' minds. So, with that said, I'm sure I'm going to catch a lot of crap for this, but you know what? Okay. It's our military, man.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, speaking of military, right? We've got two military guys here, Chris and Craig, right? So,
what do you guys think?
Right. So I mean, like,
I don't want to put them on the spot with that, but
right. So, speaking to what Joe just mentioned, right, about the LGBT, the agenda. Do you guys think that it has a place in the military, given that you guys are both ex-military?
Well, look,
what?
Okay, Greg.
So well, here's the thing, right? On the second deployment, we had so it was don't ask, don't tell. It was still don't ask, don't tell.
Right, it was under Clinton, right?
No. This was under Obama.
It was
okay.
Obama, but he didn't rescind the whole thing. So anyway, we had a couple female soldiers that everybody knew was like they were, we knew they were pretty much gay. I mean, they couldn't come out and say, hey, we're in a relationship or anything, but they had tattoos of each other, whatever, I mean, and nobody cared. I mean, nobody cared. It was just like, all right, as long, but they didn't wear it on their sleeves. They did their job.
They served as soldiers. They weren't they were touting it.
I mean, here's the thing though, like with the military, I don't think the military, should be a social experiment. You know what I mean? The only thing that soldiers need to be focused on is lethality. All the other things are distractions, whatever it is. There's, I mean, when you go to basic training, no one asks you what your sexual preference, any of this stuff is. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? The only thing they care about is can you shoot, can you move, and can you communicate. Those are the three things that especially as infantry soldiers, right? If you can do those things, whatever your background, whatever your lifestyle, whatever it is that you do, no one cares, right?
Right.
It's all about how, so. And it's interesting, right? And it kind of sums up like the Army motto, right? Or the Army song, which so many people don't know the Army song is, and the Army goes rolling along, right? For whatever reason, nobody knows it, only Army guys, because everybody knows the Marine Corps hymn, whatever the case. But the whole point is, in the song, it tells you what the ideals, what the culture of the Army is that the Army, you're part of this monstrous thing, and your job is to keep it rolling along, right? That's all that matters. They don't care how you fit into this puzzle, like what brought you here. They know that you're here and that you provide value and that you're going to keep the Army going along, because when you're in, you do that. When you leave, the Army's going to keep rolling along. And those are the things that really, really matter. All the other stuff is just really distractions.
Amen. And they're putting it at the top of the list of what's important with the military, and it's got to stop.
Okay.
Well, but you know what? But I mean, but the focus really on. Well, hold on a second. Hold on, Joe, real quick. You know something? Since we're talking about the military, and that I think a lot of people. No, I just want to say something real quick, Joe. Something since we're talking about, and we were in the Guard, the National Guard, but we were active duty National Guard. You know, something that since we're bringing up the military, we knew those two generals that had to fall on the sword because of that veteran health veteran long-term care facility back, that Murphy, when Murphy was sending sick people back into those facilities, we knew General Beale, knew him very well. General Petersky knew him really well, and that's something like, since we look, especially for patriots, especially for National Guardsmen and people who live in the state, there are many who know these two and know that they were great soldiers, great leaders, and the fact that Murphy's malfeasance destroyed their career is something that really needs to be like that, and it really needs to be, people need to know that this is one of the things, some of the
right.
consequences of their vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Craig, I think you wanted to say something too?
Yeah. I wanted to kind of touch on what Joe was getting at. I think what Joe is, and I obviously I'll let Joe speak for himself, but I think what Joe's trying to say is that the Democrat organization is trying to find every good, decent institution and just radicalize it, shake it up, disorder it. I mean, this is what part of that. Sort of the Clinton, don't let a crisis go to waste, and the Alinsky rules. Just
right. I'm not beating up on the LGBTQ community. This is something that affects the military at big time. To me, the morale of people, when you talk to people about joining, and they're looking at it like it's a joke, and we need our military to be strong.
Yeah, look, I think the United States as a nation, as a country, and as a people, I think by and large we've accepted the fact that the LGBTQ the community is here, right? And we accept them, right? It's part of our life. It's part of our culture now, right? But I think the issue that Republicans,
all cultures, and that's
right.
the thing, is we accept all cultures as Americans, and we not even accepting, we love it. I love that we have all of these different cultures in our community. New Jersey has everyone from all over the world and all different types of people, and it takes all kinds to run a community.
Right.
Yeah,
but I think the issue with the country today, why there's so many people that are pissed off, is because instead of our country focusing on the things that matter the most right now, which is like our infrastructure, right, our taxes, our people, right, we're focusing on this whole wokeness culture, and the whole wokeness culture, the cancel culture, and all these social issues that the Democrats and the liberals focus on is taken away from the big things that we ought to be doing, right? You go to New York City and you go on the subway. It's disgusting. Like the subway system there is like rotted out. It's full of rats. No one wants to ride it because it's disgusting. And then you go to other countries, right? To other countries that might be our competition, and they're focusing on their infrastructure. They're focusing on their jobs. They're focusing on their people. They're focusing on their military. And the longer we spend focusing on these social things, on wokeness, on cancel culture, that's time that's being taken away from us focusing on the things that we really ought to be, focusing on. And I think that's dangerous in the long term, because our adversaries are moving right along ahead with a lot of the things that's going to matter if it comes to war, right? They're focusing on their military, on their planes, on their tanks, right? and we're focusing
Absolutely.
on whether or not you can call someone him or her. So I
Right.
mean, we have different priorities now, and this is, I think, what's dangerous.
You know what? Can I add something to that? Is the thing is you know, like if like on my page, what I tend to try to do, and when I'm talking to people, is, you know, explain to them that, because especially in this South Bergen, in this district, you know, and this area, is that, you know, many people believe they're Democrat because that's what their father was, that's what they were told they were, you know, it's for the little guy. But I think what I try to show people is that this isn't your father's Democrat Party. There isn't a moderate Democrat Party in New Jersey, because what's happened is as the Democrat Party they accepted some of the far left stuff just because maybe they wanted their money, whatever the case may be. But then you know, it's an infection, because once you take that money, once you take that influence, that, you know, that or whatever they give you, you got to take the whole thing. You know what I mean? There's an expression, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. So regardless if a lot of these people that, like, you know, that are in these, you know, legislature in the Assembly and Senate right now, there are some far left progressives, but most of them aren't. But it doesn't, you know, but the point is that it doesn't matter whether they are personally. They have to vote this way because they don't have a choice anymore.
They have to toe the line. They have to toe the line, or they're canceled. Basically,
right? There's no moderate. Yeah. Like, that's a big thing. I think that if we can really impress upon people, is that there isn't a moderate Democrat Party, because most people you're going to talk to, especially in this area, are very moderate. They love their country. You know, they're hardworking. They think they're taxed enough, you know, or too much. You know, they don't believe that free rides. They believe in good Judeo-Christian ethics, and people of all faiths, you know, believe that you work hard and you get ahead, you know, not stay home and get paid.
Right.
You know, let me say something about that, because, you know, I grew up poor. And I grew up in a single mother home. My mother raised 3 boys by herself, and she worked.
God bless your mom.
Really hard. God bless my mom, and God bless the rest of her soul, because we put her through the ringer. But what I can tell you is, my father took me aside when I was about 13 years old, and I was going to high school, and I went to school with a lot of affluent kids that were in our town. Their parents had a lot of money, and my father said, "Would you like to go to get some nice new clothes for high school?" Because I was going into high school. And he said, "Well, you better get an effing job." You know, and that was his words. "I'm sorry, but I can't help you. If you need something, you're going to have to work for it yourself." And I started saving to buy my first house when I was in high school, because I knew I may be on the street. I didn't have a choice. So we bought our first house when we were 22. I worked 2 jobs. I was making $3.50 an hour as an electrician, and then working in a liquor store at night, stocking shelves. And then I drove a truck until 3 o'clock in the morning from 10 to 3. So, you know, I don't care to hear from anybody. You don't need handouts. Look, sometimes we all need a safety net. For crying out loud, in this country, if you come here, you educate yourself, and you work hard, you can put yourself in a better position to make a better life for yourself. What this country's doing is we're trying to get our people hooked on the welfare system and the freebies of government, and they never realized. There was a guy who said this to us the other day. They never know the value of their own self. Gentleman down at the fair, guys, if you remember. You'll never know your own value if you stay on welfare. Excuse me. Stop the dog, please. She's attacking the...
You know, I mean, but the thing is, just to kind of bring it back to the district, is you know, this is a blue-collar, hardworking, you know, union district, and I think we have the things that we can bring to them. You know, we can pick up where the Democrat Party has failed them. You know what I mean? Like, these, most of the people here do not care about all this other stuff, all this other, social revolutionary stuff. You know what I mean? These are hardworking, proud people that live in this district. And I think, I think we are better suited to because the thing, like, it's funny, I tell people about, you can say rhinos or this or that, because we're definitely not rhinos, but, is because they'll say there's no difference. There's no space between Republicans and Democrats, in New Jersey. And I said, you couldn't be any more wrong. I mean, you look at all the things, you look at the people who fought against this governor this whole year. You look at the Senator Testa, Bergen, all these people who fought this outrageous abuse of power by this governor who, I mean, look, you look at all the people who signed on that last bill that enshrined his powers with the moratoriums on evictions. I mean, look, the people, we go to the businesses in this district and say, this is who it wasn't COVID that shut your business down. It was this governor's policies and his alone. And you don't have a legislature that was supposed to provide oversight. And I think we bring that message to them. I mean, look, it's not that the federal stuff doesn't apply, because it does, and people care about that. But I think this is a local election, in a state, like, and I think we're not running against Biden or Kamala Harris. I mean, we're running against the assembly and senator of our district.
Well, speaking about your competition, speaking of your competition right now is Paul Sorlow, right? He is the state senator, and he's been in office for how long?
I think it's been over 10 years. I forget exactly how long he's been there.
Okay, and the assembly candidates or the assembly members that are in office, the assembly people that are in power now, they're actually relatively new, right?
They've been there about 6 or 7 years.
Right.
Gary Shear, yeah. And you know what? Their answer to everything is a gas tax hike. Every time they're looking for money, they either raise our property taxes, gas taxes, or they tax small business. Look what Murphy said the other day, just recently. If you're a small businessman and you're running on the premise of taxes, this is not your state. Well, New Jersey's built on the backs of small business owners, and I'm one of them. And I'll tell you what, this is my state. Murphy's got to go. Murphy could go back to Massachusetts. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to find a way to fix this.
So let me ask you guys.
Businesses, we would never ever tell a business that they cannot operate. Could you do that? This is America. What these governors did was unconstitutional. They abused a power on the basis of health, and they abused it to crush our economy. And we won't stand for it. We'll stand with our businesses. We'll stand to help them get up and running again. We'll stand so that they never get shut down again because of incompetence in government. That's at the end of the day, it was incompetence in government, and look, it was it was manufactured. It didn't come from here. Trump will tell you where it came from. I'll leave that to people.
All right. Okay. So let me ask you guys. So let me ask you guys. As a ticket, right? Are there any particular policy issues that you don't agree on, like amongst each other?
I don't think so. I think we're pretty much, I mean, some of us have, want to focus more on certain things, and I mean, not some, one of us may want to focus more on this or that, what I mean? And so, and it's funny because I have my one friend V Hall is running in the 18th district, and I was explaining to V, I said, you know what, we're all on the same ticket, but we're running 3 different races, you know what I mean? So so the point is that each of us has things that we're focusing on, but I think, together we can encapsulate all of it by focusing on different things. It's not that we're disjointed. It's that.
So very quickly, let me start with Craig. So Craig, what is the one issue that you would like to focus on?
So the main issue that I want to do, the reason I want to go to Trenton is to protect the young children from horrible, education. I want any kind of sexuality to be completely banned from teaching children under 12 years old. Like, you just leave them alone. If they have a question about something, let them talk to their parents. This worked for thousands of years. Let's just go back to that, right? There's because, and that's the thing. They're not trying to educate. They're trying to indoctrinate kind of sick doctrine. And most of the people, look, from everybody, most of the people I talk to, especially Democrats, I've been trying to focus mostly on Democrats, open their eyes. And most of them are Christians, especially in Passaic, mostly Hispanic, and they're all very Christian, very devout, and they're not on stuff. And I'm trying to help them understand their legislators are not representing them. That's what I want to go down there for, and I also want to overturn the abortion up to the moment of birth. Like, that's awful.
Okay, so Craig wants to focus on the education. Right. So Craig wants to focus on the education of children. He doesn't want the kids, our little kids, to be indoctrinated by the school system. And you want to focus on the abortion issue, in which that you want to be able to stop the abortion up until the time of birth, which I think most sane people would agree with, right? Yeah. I mean, when you abort a kid up until the time of birth, it's not really an abortion. It's more like murder. So, yeah. Okay.
Well, and finally, the last thing I want to do, my big issue, after I complete those two things, hopefully, is I want to audit. I want to do some kind of an audit of the state funding. I want to let the people know where the money's going. Where's the money going, and is it going to legal, U.S. citizens?
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the priority of any government within our country should be the U.S. citizens, right? That's what should come first. If any of the money is being allocated towards people who aren't citizens, then I think that's where there's an issue. Okay, thank you, Craig. Okay, what about Joe? Joe, what is the top issue or issues that you want to focus on when you get now on the campaign trail and when you get to Trenton?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
I'm talking to you, Joe.
Voter integrity is at the top of my list.
Okay.
That is the reason why I got in.
Okay.
Listen, I'm not perfect. My life is gone. I've had very good times in my life. I've had some lows, and through both of those, I found out that my vote was taken from me. Okay, so for me, voter integrity is on top of the list. Now, I'll tell you what, our kids being indoctrinated runs a damn close second, because that pisses me off that they're putting nothing but propaganda. I've found it in my daughter's class. I was great. That was the blessing of this pandemic, was our parents got a chance to sit with our children and see the bullshit that's being put in our kids' classes. And it's insane. They're out of their friggin' minds. You know what? The parents are the ones that should decide what and how their kids are indoctrinated for whatever their own ideology it is. It's not the school's place to teach our kids. It is their place to teach our kids math, to read, to write, to job skills. For crying out loud, let's give our kids some skills they can use. Let's have a little bit more on technical training, some job training that our kids can go make money. And enough of these leftist agendas. You know what? The teachers union should not be writing how our kids should be educated. Their job is to look after the care of their teachers, that the teachers are, it's a union like anything else. It's right. Not their place to be telling our board of education or printing propaganda to be put in our schools. So, you know what? I am right there with these guys on all of the issues. But, for me, it's voter integrity, and then stop putting bullshit in my kids' head. I'm sorry.
So voter integrity and no more BS in our kids' heads. Okay, so that's what Joe's going to fight for. Okay, last but not least, Chris, what are your top issues that you want to focus on the campaign trail in the few months going forward, and once you get to Trenton as our next state senator?
You know what? So I guess there's some different purview. I could tell you as far as like judicial nominees and who gets put to the courts. I know with the the senatorial discretion. The thing that is gonna be a top priority of mine is if the majority of your cases you plead down and just to keep the numbers down, but you don't prosecute like real criminals, then you can forget about it. You might as well just stay where you're at. But as far as the curriculum, a thing that I would want to pass right away is a transparency. Like the fact that you need an Oprah or a FOIA or whatever it is to see this curriculum is completely just absurd. So what I would want, and I would think both sides would want this, is to allow parents first, one, the transparency to see what the lesson plans and what their children will be learning this year. Two, having some oversight, giving them the right to tweak it. And three, have an anonymous opt out, because here's the problem too. Like so in some places, like in not New Jersey but in other states, if you opt out, they put you on a list, and therefore you get canceled and targeted. So you should just be able to opt out for any reason, no reason, for whatever reason, when as it pertains to controversial subjects.
Okay.
Those are the things in terms of that. Just focus on reading, writing, arithmetic, and the other big for me personally is the overdevelopment. I would say to every big major developer, one, we need E-Verify. We need to know that all the money is being accounted for. We need to know that every person's salary is withholding is done, and healthcare and all the things that come with when you hire an employee. And the other thing is, if you're going to overdevelop in an area, you have to show how you're going to fund for that school. It's outrageous. Like in places like Lyndhurst and North Arlington, all these small towns, you're building all these big, massive, apartment complexes, and not showing how you're gonna offset the burden on these schools. So that's
Right.
the thing. If you're going to build that, you need to fund that.
Yeah,
Same thing
do we
with the
have
police and the
infrastructure to
infrastructure.
handle it?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Those are my big priorities.
Yeah, so I think those are really good. Those are really really good ones. Okay, guys, I understand that last week, right? Or actually, yeah, it was last week. You guys had a meet and greet, right?
Mhm.
At a VFW hall that was unfortunately canceled because of the
Right.
heavy rainstorm, right?
Right.
That has since been rescheduled for when? Would you like to tell us?
July 26th, Monday, and we're going to have it at the BCRO.
Okay,
In
so,
Hackensack. Yes.
so it's gonna be on July 26th. 26th, right? That's a Monday.
26. Yep.
That's a Monday at the
Yep.
BCRO.
7 p.m.
which is-
At 7
okay.
p.m.
So at the BCRO at 7 p.m. So for
Mhm.
anyone who's watching, for everyone who's watching, if
Yes,
you want to
please
get a
come
chance,
by.
yeah, if you want to get a chance
Hey,
to
Ronnie,
meet and greet. Sorry?
Go ahead. I'll finish that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll wait till after.
Oh no, I was gonna say, so for everyone who's watching right now, if you want to get a chance to meet and greet the next state senators and state assemblymen from the 36th district, they will be at the BCRO, which is the Republican headquarters in Hackensack. I believe the address is 336 Main Street in Hackensack on July 26th at 7 p.m. Right?
Yes.
Very important question that I know everybody wants to know: will there be food there that day?
Yeah, we're gonna have some. We're gonna have donuts, some bagels, some coffee. We're gonna have a little bit of a spread there for
All
people
right,
when they
perfect.
show up. Yes.
Okay. Before we go, very quickly, is there a website or a Facebook page that you guys want to plug?
Okay, Greg. The main thing I use is Chris Auriemma. When you Google my name, you'll find Facebook for Senate, for New Jersey Senate. We're at over 2,300 people on the page now. Every way we can expand that. And the thing I ask people who come there, please share the stuff. Let your people let people know. I mean, we're not reaching out for money. I just want people to let people know this is what this party, this New Jersey Democrat Party is doing, and how they are radical and how they're not moderate.
Okay. So guys, if you wanted to know how to find Chris and Craig and Joe, well, first of all, if you want to find Chris and Craig, this is how you spell their last name, right? Auriemma, Chris and Craig, Auriemma, right?
Auriemma.
You can search for that on Google, right? And then it'll come up with their Facebook page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I know that Joe Viso, that's his name, Joseph Viso Jr. I think he just recently made a new Facebook page for your assembly race, right?
Correct. It's Viso for Assembly, and I do hope that I think we're going to be setting up a new page for our ticket with the three of us. I assume we're going to do it, but right now, yes, I am at Viso for Assembly on Facebook, and also Joseph Viso Jr. on Facebook. But yeah, hopefully we can get that together. But let me just add, there's one more thing that I wanted to talk about is as far as small businesses in New Jersey. Bergen County does not have enterprise zone tax relief, and I'd really like to see that brought back for all of our businesses within our county to give some relief to the small businesses. That's something that can be done immediately.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Create some relief, especially after coming back from these massive shutdowns. But so there are so many issues we all want to talk about, but we have a great team and we balance each other out pretty well. I have to say we all have our strong points and our maybe
deficits,
crazier points, and we seem to ground each other, which is
right. Well, that's what makes us human, right? We can't possibly all be perfect, right? So we got good points and we got some bad points, but I think our good points overweigh our bad points.
We have good intentions. There's nothing. There's not a bad bone in either of those two guys' body. I can tell
all three of ours.
Right.
All three of our bodies. Yeah.
You guys are all firefighters, right? So I think for that alone, you guys should get the kudos and the thanks and gratitude from a lot of people, right? Yep. And Chris and Craig, especially, you guys were in the army, right? You guys put your necks out there on the line, literally, for our freedom. And the reason that a lot of the liberals today can protest and say what they want to say is because of the work and sacrifice that guys like you give.
Thank you.
So I think they actually owe you guys a lot.
Without our armed forces, Hitler would have their knee on the neck of every American.
Oh, okay. Yes, I mean, thank you.
Early 1900s.
Yeah. All right, guys. Oh, one more thing before I forget. I think Chris, Craig, Joe, I think we're working on maybe having a table booth at the flea market at the Meadowlands next Saturday, right? Next Saturday?
We're working on that, yes.
Okay. So, guys, if you're watching next Saturday, me, along with Joe and Chris and Craig and a bunch of the other county candidates, we're going to be at the Meadowlands flea market, right? Yep. We're going to have our own table, set up. So please come on by and meet us, greet us. We're going to have our pamphlets, our cards, our palm cards, our, information. And it will be a great chance for all of you to come and, talk to us, right?
Absolutely.
All right, guys, I want to thank you
so much.
Thank you, Ron, for coming on today. Yep. Chris and Craig and Joe, this is going to be the winning ticket for Legislative District 36. Thank you, guys, and I'll be talking to you guys very soon. Okay?
To see all you guys.
All right, bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
All right, bye, and God bless. Bye. All right, so guys, that was my exclusive interview tonight with the District 36 team of Chris, Craig, and Joe. Right, and I think they will do a phenomenal job on the campaign trail, and I think they will win this year because we need them in office. As we just mentioned, they want to focus on the issues that I think every American cares about. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, right? We don't want our children to be indoctrinated in the schools. We want them to be educated, right? So that's one of the main points that they want to focus on. They also want to focus on the fact that, they want to make sure that our votes matter, right? voter integrity should be key in a democratic country, especially in the greatest one here, right? So the integrity of our votes, right? The non-indoctrination of our children in our schools, and I think a lot of the social issues that they want to fight, these are things that most mainstream Americans, they're sick and tired of hearing about how the U.S. is racist. They don't really want to hear about this critical race theory about how our country is inherently, racist. That's not who we are. Here in this country, we accept and we appreciate every single person from every single background. That's what makes our country great. And, the Democratic Party has really moved away from these very basic tenets. So, I don't really blame I don't blame people for voting Democratic, right? I blame the party. The Democratic Party of today, as Chris and Craig said, is no longer the Democratic Party that it once was, right? It's moved away from what it once was into something that's horrifically different, right? I guarantee you, if JFK saw the Democrat Party of today, he would not recognize it. I guarantee you, people like Bill Clinton, they don't recognize today's party, right? They've gone too far to the left. The radical left has hijacked the party. And the problem is that those Democrats in charge are too scared to whip it back in shape. And that's why we have today's cancel culture, right? That's why we have this hyper wokeness that really benefits nobody, right? And in the long run, that's going to tear our country apart. And that's not what we need. All right, guys. So for those of you who want to check out my campaign, right, I'm at ronaldjosephlind.com. And if you think you have an interesting story, or if you want to come on and share your thoughts, please feel free to email us at realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. Last but not least, we're looking forward to everybody joining us again next Sunday live, July 18th at 8 p.m. live from our Facebook page. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure to see all of you again tonight after our 1 week break. I hope everybody who's watching right now has a great week, right? We've got a big week ahead. And as I was saying, the Auriemma brothers and Joe Vizo and I, along with the county ticket, we plan on having a table set up next week at the Meadowlands Flea Market, right, on Saturday. So, more information will be given out about that. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Next week, Saturday at the Meadowlands Flea Market, we plan on being there with a table and booth, all set up. So if you have some free time, if you want to go out and enjoy the outdoors and the flea market, come on by and give us a holler. All right. Until then, God bless. Good luck. And I'll see you guys next week, Sunday, live at 8 p.m. All right, guys. Peace out.